It is exactly what is not supposed to be happening in America. Everyday life, going to Walmart, going out for an evening, turning into a crime scene in an instant. Lives shattered again through gun violence again. In Dayton, Ohio, the gunman was brought down within 30 seconds of his first shot. 30 seconds. And he was still able to kill 9 people. 27 others were injured. 30 seconds. Here's what President Trump said about the mass shootings in Dayton and El Paso, Texas, just last hour.
Open wounds cannot heal if we are divided. We must seek real bipartisan solutions. We have to do that in a bipartisan manner that will truly make America safer and better for all. I am open and ready to listen and discuss all ideas that will actually work and make a very big difference. Republicans and Democrats have proven that we can join together in a bipartisan fashion to address this plague.
Here with me now is Democratic presidential candidate, the Democratic Congressman from Ohio, Tim Ryan. Congressman, thank you for being here. I want to get your take on what you make of the president's remarks that you heard from him this morning talking about the shootings.
That may be the most disingenuous thing he said. I mean, he has 2 bills that are sitting at the Senate, one on background checks, one on closing the Charleston loophole that would immediately go into effect if the Senate would pass it. He said he was going to veto both of those bills. And I just think that is a slap in the face to the victims, not just of the last 36 hours, but all victims of gun violence. In the past, however many years we've been trying to deal with this. And he's injecting immigration into this. I mean, that's a joke. I mean, that is disgusting. He's going to tie one of the most polarizing issues in the country today, that quite frankly, he has made polarizing. Since going back to Barack Obama's birth certificate, this president has been playing the race card and the immigration card. And now he wants to tie that toxic debate to some simple gun reform provisions that have 80% of the support of the American people. This is not leadership. This is not leadership. He couldn't even get the town right. He said Toledo. He was talking about Toledo, Ohio. We're in Dayton, Mr. President.
I was actually going to ask you about that, Congressman. I didn't actually know what to make of it when for our viewers, let me play the moment just so you know what we're talking about here. Let me play, this is at the very end of the president's remarks just this morning. Listen to this.
May God bless the memory of those who perished in Toledo. May God protect them.
I don't actually know what to make of that. What do you?
It's heartbreaking. I mean, it's heartbreaking because he's showing a diminished capacity, mental capacity to be able to lead, and that's what I see when I hear that. I mean, you could grab anybody on the streets of the United States and they would know Dayton and El Paso after the last 36 hours. And to have the President of the United States, it just shows the level of disengagement. It's indicative of what else he said during that press conference, how disconnected he is from what's happening in the country today. I think he has a diminished mental capacity to be able to deal with the big problems that we have in the United States today. And it's right on the heels of being so disconnected with his speech, bringing in immigration and the other things that we've already talked about. And it's a slap in the face to these people here in Dayton.
The strangest bit about it, I found, well, a strange thing is that he did not mention, he mentioned on Twitter the need for more stricter background checks and possibly linking it to immigration reform. He made no mention of that, though, in his speech. In his speech, he talked about red flag laws, toughening mental health laws, taking on violent video games and social media. Developing tools to detect mass shooters before they strike and making sure the death penalty is in place for murder if someone's convicted of murder as a hate crime. No mention of the immigration reform tie-in or anything like that. Of what the president listed out, you say he's disingenuous. Do you see any bipartisan opening in what he listed out this morning?
Sure. I mean, I think the red flag law is a great place to start. I mean, they mentioned background checks. There's a bill, right, universal background checks sitting at the Senate. He should tell Mitch McConnell, get back in session, pass these bills that the Democrats have sent over to you. Let's not make this a partisan issue. It has support of 80% of the American people. The Charleston loophole, too, extending the check to 10 days. So that we can ensure that people who are getting their hands on these weapons are cleared and vetted properly, and we have the time to appropriately do that. So, but the problem is, Kate, he gave a very similar speech after the Parkland shooting in Florida, how many months back? So he's got no credibility on this issue. He's got to act. He should call Mitch. If he wants to, look, let me give him this advice. If he wants to rebuild trust with the American people, call the Senate back in the session in Washington, D.C., tell Mitch McConnell to pass the 2 bills that we sent over to him and begin rebuilding the trust with the American people. But he has said he's going to veto both of those bills. They got 240 votes in the House. They're supported by 80% of the American people. Let's move on those, and let's not have a polarizing discussion.
Do you have any indication that the House Speaker, that Nancy Pelosi, is looking to call you all back in order to put more pressure on the Senate Majority Leader to do the same?
I don't know. There was a call happening soon that I'll be jumping on. I'm not sure. I mean, but the reality is that there are 2 bills already sitting at the Senate. So for the House to come back and do anything else that's not going to go anywhere in the Senate isn't going to prove anything. Mitch McConnell should call the Senate back, pass these 2 bills, and I would guarantee you Nancy Pelosi would say, well, we can do more too, and we will come back. I guarantee you she would say that, because I know her, and I know her well. She would say, if we're going to get things done, we'll all come back and cancel the August work period, and let's keep this going. I know she would do that, but the key is the bottleneck in Kentucky, and the gentleman from Kentucky needs to, as I've said many times, he needs to get off his ass and get to work. And that's the only way we're going to get this stuff done. Kate, I cannot tell you the level of frustration in this community. People that grabbed me yesterday after the vigil, Republicans, I can't even count how many Republicans grabbed me yesterday saying, Congressman, please get something done. This is going on too long.
Do you see something getting done on the state level? I mean, one thing that we heard from the police chief of Dayton in the press conference just now is the firepower and magazine capacity that this shooter had on him was fundamentally problematic to have that on the streets of any place in America. He's talking about Dayton, Ohio. There were lots of calls yesterday of do something, and you were on that stage when Governor DeWine was talking, and folks started shouting do something. Short of the federal government doing something, what about Ohio?
I'm encouraging the governor to do something. I mean, he needs to as well. And I think he would find bipartisan support here in Ohio. I think the Republicans are going too far on this. It's hitting home now all across the country. And look, when you talk about the magazine, the high-powered magazines, where this kid had how many different opportunities if someone didn't shoot him down, how many people would have died? Those are simple steps that we should be able to take in the states if we can't get it done in Washington, D.C. I know Governor Kasich tried to do it here in Ohio and didn't get much support from the Republicans because of the power of the National Rifle Association. So I hope Governor DeWine takes the leadership role. He's from Southwest Ohio. His lieutenant governor, John Husted, is from Southwest Ohio, from the Dayton area. So they have a vested interest. I heard people from the Dayton business community say last night when I was having conversations that something needs to get done. So I think there could be bipartisan support on this, again, for the things that 70 or 80% of people in Ohio and people across the country support. I mean, we've got to heal, Kate. We've got to come together around some of these issues. It can't be polarizing all the time, and the president and Governor DeWine need to show some leadership on this stuff.
Congressman, thank you for being here. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Kate.